Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. I'm Candace McLaren Lanham, Chief Deputy Attorney General for the state of Maryland. Attorney General Anthony Brown sends his sincere regrets that he's not able to be with us here today for this important announcement. Before we begin, I would like to thank Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott for being here with us, as well as FBI Baltimore Special Agent in Charge Bill Del Bagno, Baltimore County Police Chief Robert McCullough, and Baltimore City Commissioner Richard Worley. Today we announce indictments in two unrelated but equally terrifying cases, crime sprees that left over 100 victims throughout Baltimore City and Baltimore and Howard counties in their wake. 11 individuals have been charged. As of the dates of their crimes, they ranged in age from 15 to 19 years old. In total, these 11 individuals were charged with their involvement in over 80 crimes, including 1 rape, 1 home invasion, 16 armed carjackings, 59 robberies, including 22 commercial armed robberies, 21 kidnappings, and the stealing of 8 additional motor vehicles. More than 80 crimes impacting more than 100 Marylanders, many of whom were simply at work or going on about their daily routine when they were unexpectedly targeted and victimized by criminals who often threaten them at gunpoint and or with physical violence. In the first crime spree, a group of individuals ordered cars on an app like Uber or Lyft. The defendants would then carjack the drivers and use the drivers' own cars to pick up other passengers who were then themselves robbed. During these robberies, many of the drivers were kidnapped, shoved into the back seats or trunks of their own vehicles, and forced to watch or listen to these crimes occurring in real time. As you can imagine, for many of these victims, something as simple as driving a car or ordering a ride home has now become a terrifying and traumatic experience. In the second crime spree, a different group of individuals mainly targeted pizza delivery restaurants and convenience stores, robbing the unsuspecting cashiers and store clerks at gunpoint. And just as in the first case, almost all of these victims were simply at work, trying to earn an honest living when their lives were turned upside down and their safety put into jeopardy. It is our hope that these indictments will help to bring some peace of mind to these families and these victims. But these indictments also highlight the problem of gun violence in our state. In each of these patterns, the vast majority of crimes were committed by individuals armed with handguns. One of those handguns was a ghost gun. 2 of those handguns were stolen, and all of them were illegally possessed by people under the age of 21. These crimes emphasize the importance of stopping the flow of illegal firearms into our streets, the importance of keeping guns out of the hands of violent criminals. The Office of the Attorney General continues to work tirelessly in pursuit of these goals. These investigations were led by the talented attorneys in the Attorney General's Organized Crime Unit, but none of this would have been possible without the work of our partners, including the Baltimore City Police, the Baltimore County Police, the Howard County Police, the FBI, and the local state's attorney's offices in the various relevant jurisdictions, including State's Attorney for Baltimore County, Scott Schellenberger, who stands with us here today. Attorney General Brown and I thank all of our partners for their collaboration in investigating and solving these crimes and for their ongoing commitment to public safety. Since Attorney General Brown took office a little more than a year and a half ago, our Organized Crime Unit has participated in several joint investigations that have resulted in the seizure of over 200 firearms. But the work continues. That is our promise to you. Now, for more details on both of today's disturbing cases, I will bring forth to the podium the Chief of the Attorney General's Criminal Division, Katie Dorian.
Good afternoon. As Chief Chief Deputy Attorney General Candace McLaren Lanham said, "These cases are the latest effort by our criminal division's organized crime unit, some of whom are here with us today, to combat group violence in Baltimore City and its neighboring jurisdictions. Before I get into the facts of these cases, and I know you all have heard me say this a lot, I just want to emphasize that all of the defendants are presumed innocent unless and until the state proves their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt in court. An indictment is not a finding of guilt, but purely an accusation." Another caveat, as the Chief Deputy Attorney General mentioned, several of the 11 individuals charged are juveniles. In the commercial robbery pattern, which I'll talk about first, of the 5 defendants charged, 3 are adults and 2 are 17-year-old juveniles charged as adults in the Circuit Court of Baltimore County. The 3 adults are Dwayne Sanders, Corey Saab, and Alan Hill. In the ride-share carjacking pattern that I'll talk about second, of the 6 defendants charged, 1 is an adult. He was 18 during the course of the pattern. His name is Raquan Pierce. And the remaining 5 were under 18 at the time of the crime spree. 3 of those individuals were charged as adults, and their cases are currently pending in the Circuit Court for Baltimore County. The other 2 juveniles were charged pursuant to the law in juvenile court. However, the state successfully petitioned to waive one of those individuals up to Circuit Court just last week. The 5th and final juvenile is still in juvenile court pending a waiver hearing. Pursuant to the confidentiality rules governing juvenile records, we will not be able to discuss the juvenile defendants or cases specifically. We will only focus on the cases against the adults. So the first case, the commercial robbery pattern. This case involved a series of commercial armed robberies of pizza stores and convenience stores, as well as armed robberies of food delivery drivers and others in Baltimore County, Baltimore City, and Howard County that occurred between November 28, 2023 and January 17, 2024. In total, 5 individuals have been charged with participation in a criminal organization and the commission of 44 incidents over about an 8-week span in connection with this crime spree, including 22 commercial armed robberies, 14 robberies, and 8 additional theft of motor vehicles. As a result of this group's actions, over 50 members of Baltimore City and surrounding communities have been victimized by these brazen and brutal crimes. The group began its crime spree in November 2023, and at first, they would rob food delivery drivers of their personal possessions and the cash they had received from the delivery order. Many of the robberies involved the use of handguns, and some of the victims were assaulted, including being hit and kicked by members of the group. In late December 2023, the group evolved and began committing commercial armed robberies of pizza stores and other fast food and convenience stores. In those cases, typically a juvenile member of the group would approach the cash register and pretend to purchase an item. As the clerk would open the cash register, the other members of the group would approach, announce a robbery, pointing firearms at the clerks, and demanding that all registers and sometimes safes be emptied out. In some instances, the robberies would become more violent. For example, in one instance, the store clerk was grabbed by her ponytail as a gun was held against her head, and she was forced to open the register. In at least 2 instances, victims were hit in the face with a firearm or pistol whipped during the robbery. The group often traveled to and from the scene in stolen Kia or Hyundai vehicles. Law enforcement identified at least 8 vehicles that were stolen and used by the group. As the Chief Deputy Attorney General told you, the members of the group were all prohibited from possessing firearms because of their age. 2 firearms were recovered from these individuals during the course of the investigation. One was stolen out of Baltimore City in November, and one was a Polymer 80 firearm without a serial number or a ghost gun. Also, as the Chief Deputy Attorney General said, these charges could not have been brought without the hard work of our partners. We just want to shout out a couple specifically, especially Baltimore County Detectives Joust and Nichols, Howard County Detective Bell, Baltimore City Detectives Atta, Brown, Fiddler, and Parker, and Baltimore County Assistant State's Attorney Dylan Gary, whose efforts have been instrumental in solving this case. The second case I'm going to talk about is what we refer to as the ride-share robbery and kidnapping pattern, which I think a lot of you are familiar with. These These charges are based on an investigation into 40 criminal acts that were committed between November 2022 and January 2023, mostly involving the robbery of Uber and Lyft drivers and their customers. In total, 6 individuals have been charged with participation in a criminal organization and a criminal conspiracy, which included 40 incidents throughout Baltimore City and Baltimore County, including a home invasion, 16 carjackings, 1 attempted carjacking, 23 armed robberies, multiple thefts of motor vehicles, and 21 kidnappings, and a horrific first-degree rape of one of the carjacking victims. The individuals would work together as a criminal organization and would target victims who were working as Uber or Lyft drivers. They would order an Uber or Lyft and then carjack the driver, then forcing them either into the back seat or the trunk of their own vehicle. With the driver trapped in the back of the car, the group would then use the rideshare app on the driver's phone to accept a fare for a rideshare request from a customer as if they were the driver. They then drove to the customer's location, purporting to be their ride, but they would then rob the customer at gunpoint, forcing them into the vehicle, kidnapping them, and driving them to ATMs to withdraw money from their accounts. When they were unable to withdraw money, the group would take the victims' phones and force them to send money through financial applications, mostly Cash App, to accounts associated with the group. Again, during many of these crime sprees, the members of the group would drive around with the vehicle owner stashed in the trunk of the car. The group would commit multiple robberies of customers who called for the vehicle throughout the night, ultimately returning the rideshare vehicle to the owner at the end of the night. During the robberies and carjackings, the group would wear masks and dark clothing and approach the victims in an organized fashion while displaying handguns and demanding the victims give over their property, threatening to shoot the victims. On several occasions, much like the prior case I just discussed, the group pistol whipped or assaulted the victims. You can read the indictment for more information on the 40 incidents affecting over 40 separate victims, but I'm going to highlight a few of those for you today. On the night of November 27th, 2022 into November 28th, the group committed the armed carjacking and kidnapping of 2 Uber drivers. One of the Uber drivers was shoved into the trunk of her car, while the other was shoved into the back seat of his car. They then used those Uber drivers' vehicles to rob at gunpoint and kidnap 4 other victims that night. This occurred over the course of 4.5 hours, and the original victims and the Uber drivers were only released at the end of all of the incidents. On the night of December 31st, 2022 into January 1st, the group carjacked another victim. They forced him into the back seat of his car and then used his car to find 2 more victims. They robbed those victims at gunpoint and forced one victim at gunpoint to take them into the victim's home, where they stole money. They then drove around and robbed another victim at gunpoint, forcing him into the back seat as well, kidnapping him. They then found 2 more victims who they robbed at gunpoint. They attempted to force them into the back seat as well, but the back seat was so full at that point that the door wouldn't shut, allowing one of the victims to escape and call the police. That ultimately led to the capture of 2 of the individuals charged in this case. Those events occurred over the course of 2 to 3 hours. And in perhaps the most horrific incident of this crime pattern, on November 10th, 2022, members of the group were traveling in a vehicle that had been stolen 5 days before. The group then carjacked another vehicle with 2 occupants, a male and a female. The male was forced into the back of his own vehicle and was driven to multiple locations in Baltimore County and Baltimore City before being forced to withdraw $1,500 from an ATM. Meanwhile, the female occupant was forced into the other vehicle, where one member of the group forcibly raped her at gunpoint. As the Chief Deputy Attorney General said, these charges could not have been brought without the hard work of our partners. In this case, I want to thank FBI Agent Dressler, Baltimore County Detective Edwards, and Baltimore City Detectives Parker and Sims, who have been instrumental in solving this case. And finally, I'd like to personally thank the hard work of the Assistant Attorneys General assigned to these cases, Mark Meehan, Nancy Frigo, Colin McDaniels, and J.C. Smith, and our Organized Crime Chief, Paul Halliday, who worked tirelessly with our wonderful partners to bring these cases to indictment. I will now turn it over to FBI Baltimore Special
Baltimore safer with these violent criminals off the streets. The carjackings, the robberies, the kidnappings were deliberately planned and executed. They were organized, violent predators choosing to attack hardworking, innocent drivers and their innocent passengers who were just simply trying to get home or ordering a Uber or a Lyft like many of us do every day. If not for the actions of law enforcement, these predators could still be on the streets. A dedicated team of investigators worked tirelessly together for months to find who was responsible, tracking their pattern, collecting evidence, and collaborating, all done to build a strong case to ensure that they will face consequences for the harm and the emotional distress that they caused. Today, the FBI and our partners are unified in a message. All criminals, including teenagers, who are breaking the law and looking to act with impunity, will be investigated, you will get caught, and you will be charged. Your age does not excuse the violent crimes that you're committing. The agencies here today are united in leveraging every resource available to pursue justice and to protect our communities. We work together every day with our partners in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, to do just that. We thank them for their collaboration on this investigation. We also like to thank the Maryland Attorney General's Office for taking on this case. Anyone who commits crimes like this should expect that the FBI and their partners are going to investigate them. So they should consider whether or not they want to end up like these teens right now. Undoubtedly, the 46 innocent people who were victimized deserve to know that their attackers are not going to be allowed to continue this crime spree. Thank you, and now I'll turn it over to Baltimore County Police Chief McCullough.
Thank you, Bill. I want to start by speaking to the residents of Baltimore County and this region, specifically the victims. Please know that the men and women of the Baltimore County Police Department recognize and understand that more than just personal property was stolen. I hope that today's indictments bring some peace of mind. Turning to those who believe this sort of violent criminal behavior is acceptable, let today's announcement be a reminder that it's not, and that there will be consequences for your actions. The Baltimore County Police Department works tirelessly to safeguard Baltimore County communities by carrying out daily investigations and operations deliberately designed to disrupt and dismantle criminal enterprises like the one detailed in the indictments that we are here discussing today. I would like to commend the dedicated detectives within the Baltimore County Police Department who work tirelessly and relentlessly with the detectives from Baltimore City and Howard County in this investigation. Their efforts have led to the removal of multiple defendants who targeted residents going about their daily lives. I thank Attorney General Anthony Brown and his team for their partnership and willingness to prosecute this case, and our local, state, and federal partners who we have worked closely with on a regular basis. Thank you. I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Richard Worley, Commissioner Baltimore City.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone, or actually good afternoon. Thank you to the Attorney General's Office, the FBI, Baltimore County Police Department, Baltimore County State's Attorney, Howard County Police Department, Howard County State's Attorney, and also their own State's Attorney, Mr. Rodney Bates' office, for their continued work on these cases. Special thanks to the men and women of BPD who go out here every single day and work tirelessly to apprehend these individuals. those detectives are here today. We have Detective Sergeant Riker, who was instrumental in this investigation, Detective Fiddler, who was also one of the primaries, and Detective Brzezinski. I know I messed her name up, but it's Melissa, as I know her. She's kind of unique. She is a detective and an analyst that puts together a lot of these cases, so our detectives can make the cases a lot more easily. They consistently display exemplary work, and it's exhausting to these investigations because of the amount of robberies that occur. The continued efforts of our public safety department, social services, and mostly our community members who are starting to cooperate a little bit more with us are invaluable to the crime fight. Over the last several months, we've announced several takedowns of violent groups within the city. These are the latest of which are our strong law enforcement partnerships, easy for me to say. As you can see, the only way we're going to accomplish this is through our partnerships and through teamwork. Together, these criminal organizations terrorize and traumatize more than 100 citizens. They didn't get away with it, and no one else who does will. Residents and visitors must feel safe and comfortable and secure when they visit the city, when they use rideshare, when they order food. These takedowns show that this remains our top priority. We'll continue to work with our partners, use every tool and resource available to ensure the safety of all law-abiding citizens. Even though this takedown has taken several criminals off the street, as a reminder, please, before getting into a rideshare vehicle, always confirm the driver's photo of the driver who is picking you up. Always check the license plate, vehicle make and model before you get in the vehicle. If something doesn't match up or doesn't feel right, do not get in the vehicle and immediately call 911. Drivers should always confirm when picking up fares. If something doesn't feel right, again, please don't do it, call 911. Additionally, never give your phone to anyone you do not know. Do not give access to any electronic payment apps. Please stay safe, and now I will turn it over to Mayor Brandon Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to start off by thanking Attorney General Brown, his entire team, Criminal Division Chief Jordan, FBI partners, all of our local partners from Baltimore County and Howard County for working together to bring justice to our communities. Every time we're together at one of these takedown press conferences, we are sending a unified message that we will not tolerate utter disregard for the rule of law in our jurisdictions, and a showcase that everyone up here is working together to effectively utilize the tools at our disposal to make our city, our counties, and our region safe. And when there are individuals like those who we're talking about indicting today, and in today's announcement, who have inflicted harm on our communities and jeopardized the safety of our residents, then we need to ensure that they are held accountable. As you heard, these two groups were responsible for dozens and dozens of crimes ranging from armed robbery, carjackings, to rape. Every single one of the counts in these indictments reflects a victim and their family lives are forever changed by these actions. And as a robbery victim myself, let me be the first to tell you that you never fully heal. This is a consistent thing that they will be doing for the rest of their lives. Communities who are also left to deal with the trauma of their decisions to engage in that criminal activity. It is particularly troubling that the vast majority of the people indicted here these takedowns are young people. We must ensure again that our young people know that there is a better way, and we will provide you every choice and opportunity to live your life in that better way. Take us up on those opportunities. But if you do not, this is what you will end up seeing happen to you. I also want to deliver that message to the parents. If you know that your young person is involved in something that they should not be, speak up now. Don't wait until your child is indicted, is arrested for some heinous crime to say, Mr. Mayor, my baby's a good child. Do it now. You know what your children are up to. You know if your child has key fobs in your house. Tell us now. Don't wait until it's too late. Because if you continue to make those choices, robbing, carjacking, delivery driving, This announcement is the result of months of partnership, and it shows that we, our federal law enforcement partners, our partners in the counties, are committed to continuing to root out violence across the city of Baltimore. As we heard earlier from our chief, deputy attorney general, we also will continue to fight to remove illegal guns off our streets. I want to again thank everybody here, the attorney general in his absence, for their deep partnership and commitment to making our city, our region, and our state a safer place. With that, I will turn it back over to Katie for questions.
Any questions?
Open it up for questions.
Jeff, Mike.
Yeah.
Jeff Hager with WMAR-TV. You know, I noted that there was a telling moment when too many people couldn't be fit in the back of the car. Somebody got out and two were arrested. That sounds like that sort of brought to an end the ride sharing spree. Was there a telltale moment with the pizza and convenience store robberies that went on over that 3-month period? Was there a telltale thing that sort of brought that to an end? Whether they were caught, whether they were spotted, whether the surveillance video, was there just some thing that brought that to an end?
Yes, the telltale moment that was in, I believe, January 9th of this year, where one of the individuals was caught with a handgun and coming out of a stolen vehicle.
This is Colin McDaniels, an Assistant Attorney General of the Organized Crime Unit, handling this case.
Barry Sims, WBAL-TV. I'm wondering about looking at the pictures that were shown dealing with the robberies at the pizza shops and convenience stores, and there were masks worn and dark clothing. I'm wondering if the community helped in any way in terms of trying to get information to law enforcement about the situation. Was the information basically coming from the victims? Because if they were masked, how do you identify them?
There were citizens that helped, but there's also a lot of other electronics, because at some point, you have to take the mask off. You can't drive around, you can't walk around all day with a mask. So we can trace, we can do a lot of different things with technology that allows us to go back, and we have some great detectives that can find out who you are. If we have enough time to look for it, give us that one break that we need. And that's what happened. Just give it a couple breaks, and that's what our detectives ran with.
And there was another question just dealing with one of the men charged, Dwayne Sanders. He has 245 counts against him. Was he considered the ringleader of that particular organization?
It's not an indictment. We won't get into the state's theory of the case at this moment, but the amount of charges reflects the vast number of incidents, and then for each incident, you have several associated parties. And my name is Colin McDaniels, C-O-L-I-N, last name McDaniels, M-C-D-A-N-I-E-L-S.
Hi, Jessica Albert with WJZ. We reported on some rideshare carjackings back in December 2022. Are those affiliated with the ones in this takedown?
Yes, most likely. So, Baltimore police early on made arrests in these cases, which was wonderful, and that kind of ceased the public safety threat. And then the months after that were spent with FBI, Baltimore City, Baltimore County Police putting together the pattern to realize that this was one organization and an ongoing pattern.
This might be a stupid question, but can you explain to people why it gets to this point where all of you guys are working together and why the FBI gets involved in the Attorney General's office?
Sure. I mean, I don't know if anyone else wants to step in, but I will take it from our perspective. I think these cases can't be done any other way. I think, honestly, they're so complex. They're so hard to solve. One individual agency or office just doesn't have the resources to be able to solve these themselves. And so it requires partnership of all of these agencies
additional questions before we close out?